Transforming a place into a home and homes into communities has been the mission of Hiranandani Constructions from its inception in the early 80s. A journey that began with the acquisition of land amidst the Powai Hills has today germinated into Hiranandani Gardens Powai, considered as Mumbai's finest residential township that has redefined the standards of elegant living.
When we bought into Powai, when we bought from the landowners, there were a huge number of landowners here also. I mean, everybody thought we were fools, you know. They said this is a picnic spot. You go to Powai for a picnic. And we bought that in '84. So it was way ahead of its time, but it was something which was affordable and something which you could buy in a reasonable scale, to do a project of a reasonable scale. Where we were very passionate about creating the community rather than just creating isolated buildings and walking away from there.
Thane will now see history being repeated at Hiranandani Estate, which boasts of an intelligently planned and well-crafted township, complete with the finest facilities in leisure, education, health and business.
See, I would say that what we did for Powai, we want to do it for Thane. Thane, the Rhodas enclave, you name the thing and it has got all the facilities.
Rhodas Enclave, Hiranandani's latest project at Thane, is now all set to take the vision of the brothers to a new level. As magnanimous, if not more, as the Hiranandani estate, this high-end property carries forward the legacy of the group in a novel way, as it introduces a new concept in urban living while rolling out an unparalleled lifestyle.
And we constantly innovate. We're always looking at how to innovate on horticulture and landscaping, and we see that as a very, very important part of our company.
Excellent architecture, infrastructure and world-class amenities in the lap of nature has made the company a force to reckon with in the real estate business, a feat that would have been impossible without the perfect understanding that the brothers share with each other.
Between the two brothers, they have a great division of responsibility. The elder brother takes care of all the legal and the PRO and the land and all that. And Surendra takes care of the architecture, the construction, and both are very important.
You may have differences, but that should never affect what you do.
And speaking of doing, Hiranandani is the leading real estate group today in its flagship business of construction, with a pan-India as well as international presence.
Mr. Hiranandani has been at the forefront of a lot of development that's been happening around Mumbai and several other cities where real estate is developing in such a big way. And here is the gentleman himself. Mr. Hiranandani, it's good to have you here.
Good to meet you too.
And of course, what we see around us, very, very, reminiscent of what we see in Powai. But we are in Thane right now. It's a township, and it seems like the most iconic township in Mumbai, being Powai, is getting replicated over here. So what was the thought process, and what is this fascination with townships?
Well, I think creating buildings has its own limitations. And you make a one-off building, you really cannot change the quality of life of a person who really lives there. What really makes change is if you really have a township or you have a large canvas. Because that real canvas changes the quality of life. If you had a miniature painting, I don't think it carries an impression. Number two, you can't think of hospitals, schools, gardens, other amenities if you're talking about 1 or 2 or 3 buildings. So I think the idea was really to get a larger canvas. And after doing Powai, I think Thane has made a great leap for us.
Has it? Because, I mean, obviously there are certain pockets in the city that you don't see as much development. Thane, of course, is not the case in point, but I'm saying when you entered Powai, now that wasn't a place where you saw a whole lot of work happening. But now that you go over there, you see all this BPO activity over there, it's become big. It's a hub now.
True.
And the kind of appreciation that people would see after having invested in a space like that over a period of time would be quite phenomenal, and it is.
Well, you have to understand two things. You know, you put two questions really. One is, what's the quality of life that you want to create? And the second is, as an investment per se. The first and most important thing is that you need a great place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important thing of it all. Because wouldn't you want a place or a house which has an address, which gives you all the amenities for the best location in the world? And that's our objective. Really to create quality of life for the people who reside in our townships, which is second to none anywhere in the world. So that's the first objective. The second, which is part of your question, is really what is the investment returns? And I think we really don't focus on that, but the result has been that the fact is that it's been the best investment returns in the entire world too. But the two are not really directly linked, because you can have a great place but not have a great return, and you can have a great return and not a great place.
That's right.
But in our case, you have both.
At this point in time, when for Indians essentially, when you look at real estate, now that hasn't changed too much. You look at certain investment avenues, you look at certain asset classes, real estate is right up there for almost every Indian, but it remains a dream for many of them because of the way we're seeing prices move up.
True.
So it isn't really surprising that you would be targeting investors right now who are looking more at the long term, and for them it would be a secondary home. So what do they take away from a property that you're creating like this, a township? Because obviously they're looking at a property that you know, is going to get them returns in a long stretch of time. In the meantime, they would want to lease it out, etc. So I believe you have certain divisions created where you're thinking of those possibilities for them too.
Absolutely right. You know, what we found is that selling an apartment is not selling a property. Selling an apartment is actually selling a service.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about selling a service, then all the other factors which you said come in. My older customers always benefit much more than the newer customers.
Why is that?
The reason is, let's take Thane for example. There are customers who bought it even at 1,000 rupees. But we keep on adding amenities, whether we add schools or we add hospitals and other things. All that comes as a super bonus because we hadn't really committed that kind of a thing at the scale at which we really want to do it now. So all those additional benefits in terms of amenities, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of gardens, etc., actually improve because and the old customer gets it for free.
Right.
He isn't paying any additional cost to it. And I think that has really created a kind of a feeling that we give much more.
So, you know, the kind of amenities is one thing, but just the kind of living culture where you have your green spaces, like we're experiencing this nice breeze right now over here, you know, so you need to design such spaces, and architecturally as well. Designs. Now, you know, Mumbai seems to be like such an eyesore sometimes. But the way, you know, you're thinking of these townships, obviously they come with a certain sense of design. So what is the thought process there?
I think it's very simple. Once you realize that you want to create a good product, and you want to create a quality and a value for money product, then you move to aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think makes an architectural difference. And that's why the buildings that we've made, whether in Powai, whether in Thane, whether in other locations, are aesthetically very beautiful. And they are timeless. So if you look at some of my buildings, I remember one of the buildings in Powai, I had a visitor from overseas and he said, "Oh, this appears like one of your new buildings." And I said, "No, it's 20 years old." And he was stunned because he thought that the building which he was looking at was brand new.
Right.
And because the design of the building, the value of the building is perennial, it has a quality which will last 100 years and people will still think it's new. Let's put it one more way, if I can say it. I like to make buildings where I would love to stay. So, I mean,
it's a great marketing line, Mr. Hiranandani, but I'm going to take you up on this. The
sure.
new division that you're creating within Hiranandani estate here in Thane, it's called Rhodas Enclave. We're going to take a look at it, but after we return from a very small break. Do stay with us.
It's time to give a new form to Thane's real estate. It's time you got introduced to Rhodas Enclave. The soft morning sun rays, breathing life with the tweeting of birds, engulf these majestic homes with warmth. Welcome to a new life at your new home, Rhodas Enclave.
You know, it's great that such properties are getting created in Mumbai, but like I was just talking to Mr. Hiranandani, now, are the projects that we are creating, does our infrastructure, is it able or can it in times ahead support it? Because yeah, you're hearing a lot about bridges coming up, flyovers, big dams getting built, etc. But you know, this population requires more. A city like Mumbai always needs more. You know, lately we've been hearing about, you know, the kind of town planning that happens as well. It's going for a complete toss. They don't seem to plan it with the kind of foresight that they don't see how you're going to be able to deal with a fire situation, for example. I was just reading about that. So, you know, how do you plan? How do you have infrastructure to support huge townships like this? What's the...
Well,
yeah.
the whole objective of creating a large canvas is to create internal infrastructure, which is, again, as I said, second to none in the world. So when we make gardens, whether you make schools, whether you make hospitals, whether you make shopping areas or whatever, play areas for children, jogging tracks, go-karting tracks and stuff like that, you make it superior to everything that you can and you anticipate future. But let me be honest, even we can fail. Let me give you a story. The first buildings when I built in Powai, the average number of cars of a flat owner was actually 1 for every 3 flats.
The
Today,
ratio could have reversed.
Now the ratio is reversed. So every flat has 3 cars, even for the buildings which I had sold 20 years ago.
Right.
Now there's no way that anyone could have anticipated that, but for the new buildings we can. So we plan for the new buildings,
sure,
stuff like that, and we make those changes.
But hopefully
and
now you're
correction.
making 6 cars per flat going ahead from here, looking at the way economy is growing.
I assure you that it's quite impossible, as you said, to do certain things. But barring such extreme matters which have happened, all the rest is very well planned, whether it's water supply, whether it's sewage recycling, rainwater harvesting, schools, stuff like that. All that is well planned, manicured and stuff, and we do great internal infrastructure, which is fantastic. And I think that has made a difference to the entire...
But that's the point I want to bring in. All of this,
yes,
the kind of infrastructure that you would provide within your township, what Mumbai has to offer, all of it comes at a cost.
Sure.
Yeah. And the cost is heavy to bear, considering that real estate, land cost to start with, comes at such a high price. And then what we construct on it and then sell it to our investors or people who are getting their primary homes comes at a much, much higher cost. Things that people can't afford.
Actually, it's not as complex as you make it out.
No?
No. For instance, let's take Mumbai. The British made the Western Railway, the Central Railway and the Harbour Line. That still is being continued to be used by people in a very, very effective way. Similarly, when we put up infrastructure 20 years ago, there was an X cost to it. And today, thousands of more people are using that same infrastructure. So it's actually becomes cheaper because we put it up front. Similar to what has been done in Bombay-Pune Highway or the flyovers of Mumbai, if you think ahead of the time, the cost of putting in the infrastructure does not really come so high as you really do it. It's only when you don't plan and when you don't have foresight of putting in such infrastructure that the real problems come up. The problem of price is different in terms of total price because the